Good morning. I wanted to just take a couple minutes and share some thoughts that I'm trying to think about myself, and perhaps I can share with you to think about as we go through this unprecedented time in my life, and I'm sure in the last 100 years, I'm sure at least in this country, it's really crazy times. Basketball league is suspended. You can't get toilet paper in the grocery store. And the stock market, who knows what's going on with that. So I wanted to just reflect a little bit, and hopefully we can inspire each other to pull through this, this difficult and scary time. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov famously said the following. He said, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. The whole entire world is a very narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefachad klal. But the main thing is not to get scared at all. And those words resonated as I was reflecting last night, such a crazy, wild night. I was in a meeting, and after that meeting, I checked the news to see that the basketball league NBA was canceled. Tom Hanks has coronavirus and something else, and there's now a travel ban from Europe. Three crazy things. And right now, I would argue that we are maybe on a very narrow bridge. It's scary. I'm afraid of heights. It's scary for me to go across narrow bridges. And I have a choice when crossing that bridge. I can freeze in paralysis and fear and not go anywhere because I'm always looking down and terrified. And I can panic, or I can look forward and be careful and take one foot after the next. And as Rabbi Nachman says, I cannot be scared in crossing that bridge. I should not be scared. And I think that it's a very powerful metaphor, a powerful thing for us to consider right now. And I believe I would humbly submit, I'm more talking to myself, and you're welcome to listen in on my conversation with myself as we approach the situation. I believe that there's maybe three responses we should all be thinking hard about. A physical response, an emotional response, and a spiritual response. First of all, I believe it's required upon all of us to take what we call in Hebrew the proper hishtadlus. We have to take the right steps to achieve the desired result. We have to be smart. We have to listen to the advice and to be clean and to wash our hands and to avoid, these massive gatherings of people in which the disease can spread. We should listen to the doctors and know what they're talking about. That's obvious. We have to do that. The physical response, so just listen to what they're telling us and to be mindful of that and to be careful. Secondly, I believe that there is an emotional response. In other words, whereas we need to react and to respond in a smart, thought-out way, we also have to consider our own well-being emotionally and our mental health. And we have to think about how healthy is it for us, like what I was doing last night, and it wasn't healthy for me, to be checking CNN every 5 minutes. It's like every time you open up the articles, or you're watching the news, or you're reading Twitter, it's like a separate anxiety attack, a panic attack every time you look at it. Like nothing is going to change. We can't control. Nothing really. By me reading that, nothing is changing. It's just freaking me out even more. And then I share that freaking out with others, and everyone is freaking out. So understanding that if we do our hishtadlus, we do our physical, the things that we need to do for our own health that people are recommending to us, to maybe take a step back from the constant just checking and panic attacks and hysteria that we experience, many of us, by reading these articles all day. I think that's very important. And I believe as well that perhaps there's a spiritual response as well. And for that, it's interesting, when I first heard the term, that a lot of people are doing, they're being in quarantine. So where I heard that word the last time I checked was in learning about the Metzora, the person who was spiritually sick because they spoke Lashon Hara. They spoke ill about other people. And God forbid I would ever imply that anyone who got sick did anything wrong whatsoever. God forbid, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is just hearing that term makes me think about that. It makes me think about being in quarantine, and makes me think about everyone who's by themselves like the Metzora was. And in the Torah, the Metzora was the person, as we mentioned, is the one who spoke ill about other people. And perhaps this concept of being separate, of being in quarantine, can inspire us to be very careful in how we speak about other people, and we should be perhaps ultra sensitive to not speak ill about other people. And in doing so, hopefully that can be a merit for all of humanity to avoid the spread of this virus and for everyone who is sick, by being very careful how we speak about each other. And again, God forbid not to imply that anyone did anything at all to deserve this terrible illness. But we can consider how we speak, and hopefully, please God, that should be a merit for all of humanity. And finally, I'm thinking about Rav Arush, Rav Shlomo Arush, the great Breslover author, who in one of his books, he talks about this idea of trust in Hashem, bitachon. And what bitachon really means is that it doesn't necessarily mean, I don't remember if this is his approach or another approach, but in general, we think bitachon doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get everything you hope for if you believe strong enough. But it does mean that we believe that God is running the world according to a very specific plan. And we don't understand the plan. We don't claim to understand the plan, but it is according to his plan. And therefore, if a person realizes that can actually be life-changing. A person tries very hard to get into a college or a grad school or a job, and they do everything they can. And maybe they'll get it, maybe not. If they don't get it, that's part of the plan. And that understanding is very comforting. I think we can perhaps apply that here. And I believe it was Rav Arush. I saw this years ago, but it resonated with me. He says that there's really 3 things a person should be doing to achieve tranquility in their life. And first of all, it is to do what we said, number 1, the physical response, the hishtadlus. We have to work hard for the results we want. We need to be careful. We can't be dumb about these things. We have to be smart. 2 is, so you got to do your best. Okay. 2 is to understand that Hashem is running the world, and whatever happens is according to His plan, and that understanding is extremely comforting. And then 3 is to pray. So do our best to be smart, to understand Hashem is in charge, and to pray. That's a 3-pronged approach for how a person can perhaps achieve tranquility. So practically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to basically do my best to be listening to the advice of all the medical experts and be very clean and always washing my hands and avoiding these massive gatherings. I'm going to, after this video, I'm going to post this on social media. I'm going to delete Facebook and Safari. I don't need to be checking CNN maybe a couple times a day, see what's going on, but no more than 2 or 3 times. It's too overwhelming otherwise. And 3, I'm going to be very careful in speaking about other people and praying for those who are ill and for all of humanity. These are just a couple ideas for how I'm responding to this. Hashem should keep us all safe. God should keep us safe. And this should pass as quickly as it can. And God willing, everyone will have a beautiful, beautiful spring of health and happiness and joy.